Hello, thank you for watching this video. If you're new here, thank you so much for checking me out. And if you're a returner, thank you so much for returning. Today, we're going to continue what I did last time, which is read an r/no sleep horror story because I've been so fascinated with them lately. So honestly, today we're just gonna jump right in. We are reading The Man in My House Is Not My Husband. Just so you know, this is a read and react video, so I will be pausing it to give my real-time reactions because I've never read this before. I just quickly skimmed. So yes, this is a read and react. If you're not into that, I will link the actual story below so that you can read it for yourself. The man in my house is not my husband. So I feel a little silly posting this, but I've been at my wit's end lately and I feel I need to tell somebody. For context, I'm a 58-year-old woman from North Carolina. 2 weeks ago, my husband, we'll call him Don, disappeared while working in the Pisgah National Forest. I hope I said that correctly. He's a senior wildlife biologist for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. He was tracking a family of red wolves when he failed to radio in for the evening, and a search was promptly called. They searched for over a week, and I was told to prepare for the worst. But then, on the 10th day, he was found. At a truck stop in Brevard, no less. He'd wandered right out of the tree line, apparently. And I guess people must have seen the state of him or whatever because they called for an ambulance right after. Naturally, I was overcome with relief when I got the call and promptly headed over to Mission Hospital in Asheville, finding my husband bed-draggled and confused, but very much alive. Still clad in the survival blanket the paramedics had wrapped him in when they found him. He'd lost 20 pounds and was suffering from severe hypothermia to the point where nobody on staff could explain how he was still alive. By all accounts, he should have been dead. Furthermore, it was clear that at some point he'd also taken a fall, his body peppered with fine scratches and scuffs, though he couldn't remember. He couldn't remember anything, in fact, not what happened, nor where he'd been for the better part of 2 weeks. This man was gone for 2 weeks. I don't know why that just clicked. Imagine wandering alone in a forest for 2 weeks. I would be a completely different person. Like, the 1,000-yard stare kind of different person. Like, the guy's emaciated, dehydrated. So, you know what? I can understand maybe he's like dissociating or something to the point that he can't remember anything. So far, I don't think he's doing anything weird. I don't think he's acting weird or saying weird stuff. But you never know with these types of stories, so let's continue. The doctors kept him under observation for the next few days before finally we were allowed to go home. Which brings me to the reason for this post. Oh, okay. It's gonna start getting a little freaky. Let's go. So a little bit about Don. He's a complainer. Even from way back when we first started dating, over 40 years ago now, if you can believe it. The man has complained about everything. The heat, the cold, if somebody's running late, if it's raining, not in a mean way, of course, and always subtle. A grumble here, side eye there. Sometimes we'd be out to dinner and I'd catch him gazing down at his food, and we share a look, and even though he wouldn't say anything, I know he was annoyed about something. He's what my Grammy would have referred to as a sourpuss. Anyway, I bring this up because ever since we got back, he hasn't complained a single time. I know that might seem like a small thing to you, but given how much of a prolific whiner he usually is, to say this is out of character for Don is an understatement. Mostly now, he just sits in front of the TV, watching rerun after rerun of old sitcoms and TV shows, something he previously would have abhorred doing. Figuring the act akin to watching paint dry. Okay, so he is acting strange. He's not complaining, which is his usual thing to do, and he's also watching reruns of old sitcoms, which is something that he hated before. So I see why she's starting to get a little bit concerned, let's say. Then, of course, there's the other thing. Oh, of course, there's another thing. This wouldn't be a creepypasta if there wasn't. I spoke to his psychiatrist yesterday, a Dr. Weiss. Nice lady. She said it's not unusual for people to experience memory loss following a traumatic experience, and that his memory would likely return in time. And while I can understand this, that doesn't account for the fact I get the feeling Dawn is lying to me. Though I cannot for the life of me think why this would be. Okay, so wait, I don't understand. Oh wait, no, I do. Okay, so essentially, Dr. Weiss says that Dawn cannot remember anything, or Dawn says he can't remember anything. And Dawn also tells his wife that he can't remember anything, but his wife thinks that Dawn is lying to her, and the wife thinks that Dawn actually didn't lose his memory. But then why is he lying to her? What did he see? I know my husband. Ask any long-married wife. A woman's intuition is never wrong. Why on earth he would lie about something like that, though? I have no idea. I mean, I get he's embarrassed, but still, I'm his wife, for Christ's sake. I tried talking to him about it, but he's adamant he doesn't remember a thing. I want to press him further, but not sure if I should. For instance, I read an article only this morning in Psychology Today, which suggested that memory loss after a traumatic event might, in fact, be linked to the brain's natural inclination to wanting to protect itself. I don't know what to do. I feel like ever since he got back, he's like a completely different person. I suppose that's to be expected, given what he's been through and all. But still, am I crazy? Anyway, any advice on this matter would be greatly appreciated. Thanks in advance, B. Oh, okay. So this story is like a series of posts that are uploaded and they're real. So she's basically, she's posting it to the forum and asking for advice. Okay, because there are multiple updates here now that I see it. Okay, that's cool. I like this format. Update number 1. Here we go. Whew. So before I begin, I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who replied to my last post. It's so nice to know I'm not losing my mind. Also, to the woman who said I was being insensitive posting about my husband's ordeal, kindly blow it out your butt. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, I have updates. First and foremost, we got the last of Don's blood work back from the hospital on Tuesday, and aside from his white blood cell count being a little low, as expected, I'm pleased to announce everything appears normal. So, no infection, no lingering effects, at least not physically. Shoot, okay. For example, I was just getting back from the grocery store yesterday morning when I returned to find Don not in the house. There had been a moment's blind panic before I eventually found him out back, standing by the tree line that marks the edge of our property. Our yard backs into Pigsaw National Forest, which was actually one of the reasons why we had bought it in the first place. He'd just been standing there in the rain, staring over at the tree line, totally still. I'd had to call him a good half a dozen times before he'd finally snapped out of it. I felt terrible, of course. I was on observation duty, after all, and what with Don being a fully grown man, I just assumed he could be left for 30 minutes without riddling himself with yet another bout of hypothermia. Apparently not. Damn, okay. When I asked him what he was doing, he just mumbled something about getting some fresh air, and then gone and sat back on the couch like nothing had happened. I mentioned this to Dr. Weiss later, who seemed concerned but not alarmed, and again assured me that everything was fine. Another thing, he's been getting up in the night. Something that's especially strange, as not once in all the years of our marriage can I recall him ever having sleepwalked before. And if he'd done so as a kid, his mother had never mentioned it. Something she absolutely would have. God rest her soul. Oh, she passed. I have no idea what to make of all this. A part of me wants to put his behavior down to head trauma, but we'd had a CT scan done back at the hospital and everything came back clear. So it can't be that. I know I'm probably coming off like a complete hypochondriac here, and you're no doubt sick of listening to me ramble. I'm sure I'm just overthinking everything. Anyway, that's all for now. We'll update again once I get a chance. Thanks again. B. Update number 2. I don't know how to start this post, so I'm just gonna come right out and say it. Something is wrong with my husband. I followed him last night, one of Dawn's great sleepwalking adventures. I had gotten up to go to the bathroom and was just heading back to bed when I noticed Dawn's bedroom door standing ajar. You sleep in different rooms? Oh wait, no, there's an explanation. We sleep in separate rooms on account of Dawn's sleep apnea. I found him standing in the kitchen by the sink, once more with his back to me. For the longest moment, I thought he had to be looking out the window at something, a raccoon perhaps, but then I caught a glimpse of his reflection in the window and realized what he'd actually been doing, which was Dawn had been talking to himself. Oof, I'm getting the goosebumps now. Ah! Okay, only that's not quite right. His mouth had been moving, yes, but no sound had come out. It reminded me a little of those ventriloquist dolls. The blank, glassy eyes, the forceful way his jaw slapped shut after each mimed word. And as I stood there, watching from the hallway, a peculiar idea had struck me. Practicing, I thought. He's practicing. Okay. Obviously, you are not able to tell, but I have goosebumps all over my little body. Why that thought exactly, or what it meant, I have no idea. All I can say is that standing there in the dark, for whatever reason, it had felt correct. Oh, that he was practicing. Just like why, I don't know why that was the first thought that came to me, but it just seemed like that was what he was doing, like miming, mimicking, practicing being a human? Is this guy a skinwalker? Whenever they need to practice and rehearse being a human, they're obviously not human. That's why I don't live in the woods. I had confronted Don about his behavior over breakfast, only of course he didn't recall a thing. He had seemed genuinely taken aback when I'd informed him about his little midnight escapade. I didn't tell him about the kitchen part though. All other things aside, I had spent the remainder of that night trying not to think about it, and had no specific urge to relive it again. And besides, it would only have upset him. How does she know though? It would have upset him. I mean, if you say this is not your husband, we wouldn't know that, right? Maybe it would make him happy. He's like, oh, you caught me, That's stupid. No, he wouldn't. She's probably right. It wouldn't have made him excited. Dr. Wise tried to play it off as a simple case of sleepwalking, of course, or somnambulism. Somnambulism is a sleep disorder characterized by complex behaviors such as walking, talking, or performing other actions while still asleep. This is just another word for multitasking, sleeping while doing other things. So, okay. Dr. Wise tried to play it off as a simple case of sleepwalking, of course, or somnambulism. Somnambulism, as she called it. Again, not uncommon following incidents of significant distress. I'm not sure whether she believes this or if she's simply trying to ease my mind. It's 11:58 p.m. now, and things have been getting worse, of course. I can hear Dawn moving around out in the hall as I write this, grunting and rutting up against my door like some kind of wild animal. I have absolutely no idea what to do. I considered briefly calling the police, but what would I tell them? that I'm afraid my husband isn't my husband anymore? Yes. And honestly, like, so what if you sound crazy? I would rather be labeled as crazy but be alive than do nothing and be dead. Think about that. You could be a living crazy person or a dead person that didn't become crazy. Did that make sense? If someone else has experienced anything similar, or if you have some idea of what is going on with Dawn, please let me know. Update number 3. Okay. First things first, I think I may owe all of you an apology. That was not what I was expecting. Skimming back over my last post, it's clear I may have exaggerated a little in my distress. So remember that whole sleepwalking thing? I spoke to Dawn's sister yesterday, and it turns out there is, in fact, a history of sleepwalking on his side of the family. So I guess that explains all the midnight walkabouts. Also, Dawn and I talked. Turns out the hospital had him on some kind of crazy anti-anxiety sleep aid. And one of the side effects is acute parasomnia, things like sleepwalking, sleep talking, acting out dreams, and so on. I googled it, and sure enough, it's right there in black and white. I feel so silly. I showed him these posts and he laughed and called me a daft old bird. Ain't that the truth? So yeah, he's fine. We're fine. I don't know what I was thinking. Anyway, thanks for all your comments and for putting up with my worry wart routine. You guys are awesome. B. Well, so she said, turns out the hospital had him on some kind of crazy... Turns out? How did you not know? Because you were his caretaker. He's been so out of it, they probably would have trusted you to give him his meds. Update number 4. I don't know where to begin. So much has happened since I last posted, and I'm still struggling to make sense of it all. I got a call from Mr. Hanley, Dawn's boss, yesterday evening. Whoa. Okay. Dawn's dead. They found his body in the woods, about 40 miles from the sector he'd been working in when he'd gone missing. He stumbled into a ravine near Laurel Gap and broke in his leg, and exposure had done the rest. He'd been entirely naked when they found him, what they'd initially taken for paradoxical undressing before quickly dismissing the idea due to an evident lack of any nearby clothing. Initial talk is that he'd been dead for some time, which, if you've been following these posts, you probably got questions. If Dawn's been dead this whole time, who's been living in my house? Yeah. This reminds me of a screenplay I wrote a few years ago. Maybe I'll read the screenplay next. It's called Integument. There's a reason it's called Integument. But sorry, back to the story. Ooh, Skinwalker. Goosebumps. Whew. I can't explain it. Not sure I'd want to even if I could. I found Dawn in the bathroom last night. Wait, so you know that the Dawn in your house is not your Dawn, and you're still in the house with your not Dawn? I found Dawn in the bathroom last night. He was hunched over the sink, shaking and moaning, his naked body covered in a sheen of sweat. I could hear what sounded like bones cracking as his body twitched and contorted. GTFO. I could hear what sounded like bones cracking as his body twitched and contorted. Of course, I say his body. Even with his back to me, I noted the familiar wideness of his hips, the thin lengths of gray blonde hair hanging down his back. I caught a glimpse of his face in the mirror's reflection. The face it was wearing was mine. The thing has taken her face. I barely had time to scream before the Dawn thing turned on its haunches and in a single movement threw itself through the bathroom window. I raced over to the ledge, catching one fleeting glance before it passed into the tree line, huffing and keening, and right before it disappeared, I swear I saw its outline shift. Into what? I can't say. I don't know what to believe anymore. I've spoken to my sister in Spokane, and I'm going to go stay with her and her husband while I prepare Dawn's funeral. This will be my final post. Just now, as I was finishing this, I heard a laugh from the tree line. It sounded like mine. And that is the end of this story. And I'm gonna go cry myself to sleep because now I'm scared. Thank goodness I do not live by the woods. Oh, so Skinwalker. Skinwalker, that's the only explanation, no? But all I know is that she is a daft old bird because there have been so many red flags. Oh, there's some comments. Lock the door and do not let him know you suspect a thing. The OP, I fear it's already too late for that. Oh lady, they effed up bad. This was a good read. You're not safe there. It's wearing your skin and practicing your mannerisms for a reason. I'll be staying at my sister's while I tend to the funeral, so I'm safe for the meantime. But I think once it's over, I'm going to put the house on the market. I can't imagine ever going back into that house. People are actually, I really hope people are not this like naive. I don't think so, but I like the idea that they're playing into this by like replying in the comment section, and even the OP is replying to their comments like it's a real thing. It's kind of like a role-playing thing. I think it's really, really cool. You see, this has serious Skinwalker vibes. What did I tell you? You should definitely move. Amen to that. Someone said I'm leaning more towards shape-shifting since it doesn't take any of the person's physical body. No, it does. She has her hips. Her hips. It has her hips. Get out of the house. You documented everything about his return, so all should be clear. Move out. Get out of state now. Get out of state. Okay, and those are all the comments. But no, I like this read. I really did. I'll link all the information in the description below. Let me know if there are any stories that you would like me to read. And I'm just gonna keep doing this because this is so much fun and I just like putting this stuff out there. So yes, thank you so much for staying here and have a great rest of your day.